He says, I'm going to fly 2 people in from the UK overnight to come meet you with me. I said, all right. And at the end of the job, 6 months later, he put his arm around me, handed me a check, and he says, thank you. I appreciate everything you've done. And he says, I couldn't have done it without you. But let me ask you something. Do you have any idea why I picked you? I said, yeah, because I was your 8th weld shop you called. He goes, that's a good answer, but that's not the answer I was looking for. I said, well, you tell me why. He says, I elected to have you do this because I did finally find you to do it, but also because of your confidence the first time I spoke to you on the phone. So anybody listening to this podcast, don't just think that you got to have confidence when you're meeting someone. You need to have confidence when you're talking on the phone, and be proud of your facility and proud of your people that back you, that have talent in order to capture projects like this.
Welcome to Making Sparks, the podcast where we ignite your passion for metal fabrication and fuel your business success. Join industry leaders and dive deep into the world of metalworking. From business insights to tips of the trade, Making Sparks is your forge of knowledge. During each episode, discover success stories, innovative solutions, and expert interviews that light the path to business growth. Subscribe today and grow and improve your company, and let's make sparks fly together.
Are you a deer hunter?
Yes, sir. I'm a bow hunter. I've been a bow hunter for 26 years.
At one time, I would have called myself a bow hunter, but I'm a trader now. I bet I've been using a crossbow, but
I tell myself it's only because I've got 3 young boys, and it just makes it so much easier with them. But I keep thinking about getting my Hoyt back out and really getting after it. I took a bull elk with a bow, and I went to Africa bow hunting. So at one time, I was a real bow hunter.
You still are, man. Yeah, I tell people all the time, I make a joke about I don't gun hunt too much unless my little boy's going with me. He's 10.
Yeah.
So I tell everybody, if you see a gun in my hand, it's because I'm hungry, you know?
There you go. Yeah, I've got a 11-year-old and a 9-year-old son. So right in there with you.
That's what it's about, man. It's about the kids.
Yeah.
Making memories.
Yeah, I love coming down there to Texas. I've never deer hunted there because that's too salty, man. That's high dollar deer hunting. But I've been down and did an exotic hunt once with some buddies, and then we went for a bachelor party and did the helicopter hog hunt. Man, that was freaking awesome. Like that's.
So where did you do that at? Do you know?
Yeah, we were.
Were you on the water, like near the bay?
I want to say we flew into San Angelo.
Oh, okay, up there. Okay, yeah.
One of the trips I did, I get them mixed up. The exotic hunt I did was down right on the Rio Grande. I'd know it if you said it, but I don't think that was. Is San Angelo's not close? Is it close to the Rio Grande?
Yeah, it's close to the Rio Grande. Not too far. Not too far.
Maybe we flew into San Angelo on that hunt, but
yeah,
I can't remember. But anyways, yeah, that helicopter hog hunt was. I said that's the most fun you can have with your clothes on right there.
Yeah, that's pretty fun, ain't it? We do it a lot down at the bay. At the Mexico. We go down there and we'll go try red fishing in the morning, and then have a nice dinner in the evening. And then afterwards, we head out to hog hunt all night long with night vision. Or we'll get up and go hog hunt in the helicopter early and come back, within an hour, and then go fishing afterwards. We mix it all up.
That's cool.
Pure adrenaline. So what made you guys want to get with me on a podcast? I mean, I'm thankful and I'm blessed for you to ask. I've been on about 20 different podcasts, so I'm a little seasoned for you.
Yeah, good. That's good. Well, Maggie helps us make all this happen, and I gave Maggie direction of the kind of people that I'm looking for, and apparently you fit that mold. And after just a quick glance at your LinkedIn, I think you certainly do. I think she hit it spot on. And
good.
We either want shop owners like yourself that have an interesting story or something unique, or we like to mix in, some of industry experts, around the tooling or, some service providers that owners would find interesting. But our audience, our primary audience is leaders and owners of shops. That's who we're catering to. So we either want to share, interesting stories and best practices or some new, thing in the industry. Always enjoy meeting other folks in the industry and, I've been so blessed to meet so many cool folks and interesting folks in the industry, and I've always appreciated how open our industry is. You know, I've had other shop owners all over the country open their doors for me, and you know, I show up and tour their shops and learn from them. And we've got we're hosting 5 owners and leaders of a big shop from Wyoming. They're going to come out and visit us this spring, you know, and we'll sit down with their team and share best practices. And I just think it's a cool thing about our industry.
Well, good. You're going to be, you know, pretty happy after we talk today. I'm going to enlighten you a little bit and tell you my story, and you'll walk away hopefully feeling thankful and blessed, you know.
I will say, John, one of the cool things I saw when Maggie sent you over to us is I'm a marketing guy. You know, I do videos and stuff, and I think it was pretty cool how much you guys have invested in video, how much you guys have invested, or your presence on LinkedIn. I'm a big believer in LinkedIn. I love LinkedIn, and so that's one thing that stood out to me. You know, a lot of times we'll get these guys on here that talk a lot, talk shop a lot, and I'm over here for my dad jokes, and that's about all I can do. But see you guys doing some marketing stuff, I think you know, to me that gets me fired up, because we do a lot of work in like the fabrication shops. We do a lot of work in just manufacturing, industrial in general. And for me, a guy who grew up in this small town, but also getting to meet craftspeople that really take a lot of pride and fulfillment in their work, like capturing that on camera is probably the best type of content that we've gotten to capture. Like I've worked with professional services, I've worked with, you know, corporate, you know, bigger corporations and stuff, but it always goes back to, you know, the people in the shops and stuff are a lot more fun for me. Normally it's because it's more laid back, and they're like, yeah, you should get a shot of this. And we're like, all right, let's go get a shot of that, you know. And so it's a lot of fun. So
yeah, I did all my own marketing for almost 17 years. I never had a marketing person, so I was running several shops and several companies and doing my marketing. I'm a night owl, so you know, a lot of times I sit up, you know, midnight, 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, editing videos and putting, you know, splicing videos and putting different sounds and editing photos. And then I got everything ready for the next 2 days. And then 2 more days or 3 more days, I do the same thing over and over and over for 17 years. And then I hired Andrew, who's a great marketing guy. Andrew, pop in here real quick, just so they can see.
Hey, buddy.
Yeah. Andrew's my marketing guy. He does a great job for us. I actually hired him, and he actually splits his services on a weekly basis between 2 of the main companies, which is JK Welding and Trails West Gate Company.
cool.
So
Awesome.
he's a great help, and he's learned a lot since he's been here, and does a great job. Very happy with him.
This episode of Making Sparks is brought to you by Paperless Parts. Are you tired of the complexity that comes with quoting and manufacturing? Paperless Parts is here to help. As the #1 quoting and collaboration software for manufacturers, Paperless Parts simplifies every step of your quoting process in a single, centralized environment. With patented technology, their automated costing and pricing logic is tailored specifically to your shop, making it easier and faster to generate consistent quotes across your entire estimating team. Plus, Paperless Parts meets the rigorous standards of FedRAMP and CMMC, giving you confidence that your data is secure. By streamlining your workflow, Paperless Parts saves you time, boosts profitability, and helps you deliver an unbeatable customer experience. Ready to level up your shop's quoting process? Visit paperlessparts.com to learn more. Paperless Parts, quoting made simple, profitable, and powerful.
Well, I guess we probably should actually officially start. What do you think?
Yeah.
Already get some good conversation here. Hopefully he can
I was recording
loop this.
anyway.
Yeah, he was recording. Sometimes
You never know.
the casual conversations is
That's why I was hopping around while you guys were talking earlier. I was
Yeah.
making sure everything was
Yeah.
rolling. See, look, the camera has a red dot now. I may have accidentally not rolled camera before on one of these, and so now I make sure the red dot's showing when it's rolling.
So 2 questions I have. No cursing, right, today?
that's up to you. I mean, we probably should avoid some F-bombs, but
My main thing is to intro the podcast, and I'll probably mess it up, so we'll try. Welcome back to Making Sparks. I'm your host, Casey Velker, sitting here with my co-host, Matthew Nix,
up?
in what we call the maid's quarters of the Founders House in Poseyville. And we got a special guest joining us virtually, John King. He is an owner of multiple businesses, but I think his main one is at JK
Welding.
JK Welding. Yeah, I almost cheated there and looked it up, but I think right off the bat, I want to hear a little bit about John's story. What do you think?
Yeah, one thing I do want to point out is we do not have a maid. This is the maid's quarters. Yeah. So this is a historic home that we renovated. We've got our administrative offices in here, Casey's offices, and then there's a sort of a separate space separated from the house that originally was the staff for the wealthy family that owned this home. So we call it the maid's quarters, but we do not have a maid. We should get a maid.
We should get a maid, and they can live here anyway. All right, John. Enough of that. John, tell us a little bit about your background. I think give us a little background of how you kind of started your business and how you got into the trade.
Hey guys, thank you for having me on today. I really appreciate it. It means a lot to me. I feel privileged and blessed to come on and talk with you guys. As far as background for me, I come from a broken home, raised in Houston, Texas. Spent some time in East Texas. My grandparents ended up finishing raising me through all of my high school years. Didn't go to college. It wasn't for me. I started out in the weld shop as a janitor and learned how to weld. A little blue light just caught my eye, and I wanted to be a welder and became a welder and a fabricator and an artist throughout the years. I welded until I was about 32 years old for someone else. Then I decided to break out on my own. I wanted to work 40 hours a week. I didn't want to work anymore. But as anybody knows, as an entrepreneur and a business owner, that never happens. You don't work 40 hours a week. When you go into business for yourself, you're done with 40 hours, You're 24/7. But I started in my garage making cowboy furniture, making deer feeders, deer stands, all kind of cowboy lamps and stuff like that, kitchen toolings and stuff, just unique cowboy kind of stuff, and I really enjoyed that. And I started putting out flyers. This was my internet back in the day when I go to Office Depot, print out 1,000 flyers, and I'd go to all the plumbing supplies and plumbing stores and all the mechanical stores and tractor supplies and Home Depots and just hand out flyers. That's what I did, And that was my way of my internet back then is captivating on some new clients and getting some new business. And before you know it, I had to hire a couple guys and I had to hire a couple more. Then I had to move into another shop out of my garage. And I moved into a bigger shop. And I had 25, 30 guys at that point. I had several milestones throughout my business. Hurricane Ike came in 2008, wiped out the Gulf Coast. I went to work for Tillman Fertitta. You guys know who Tillman Fertitta is?
No.
He's the guy that owns the Golden Nugget, used to own the UFC. He owns Babbitt's. He owns Sawgrass. He owns Kimo Boardwalk. He owns the Houston Rockets, Anyway, I went to work for him because he owned a boardwalk down here on the bay. We ended up rebuilding that. And then, I went through, kept growing, buying more equipment and building more buildings, putting more square footage up, buying more land. And I got up to 100 employees and was doing millions. We were rocking the boat at, anywhere between $8 and $10 million a year. And that's just a culture shock for me. I pinch myself sometimes to think we came from a broken home and was raised poor. And, I drove myself without college to have inspiration and courage and confidence to sell my services and sell myself as someone who's unique. That likes to do, very unique projects and not afraid of anything. And I've invested that mentality, that mind mentality into my employees as well. So a lot of my employees I have here have been here a long time because of the way they think and the way they act and the way that they are creative. They're very skillful. Rebuilt the battleship of Texas in 2014. Fabricated some very large crosses for the church.
Yeah, I was going to ask about those. I saw that on your homepage. That's really cool.
Yeah, the cross is really cool. And then, we built the pirate ship for Royal Caribbean, a cruise line that's in the Bahamas. We did that. And then that was a really special, unique job. And then, we went on over another milestone, building the world's largest wind chime. The only wind chime in the United States, the largest one in the world. And then we built the world's largest threaded nut. And that was another Guinness Book of World Records.
I wanted to ask about that one too. So
yeah,
I want to hear the story behind a couple of those, but let's come back to that. So first of all, what an inspiring story. I mean, that's so awesome. This is what we want other shop owners and leaders to hear about. I mean, some of these folks are thinking about going out on their own. Some of them are already on their way and they're going through the challenges. You know, I'm sure, John, you had many moments where you questioned, I know I have, you know, questioned what you're doing and if it's worth it, and, you know, if we're going to get through. And I'd love to hear some of those challenges from you as well. But one thing I want to point out is you talked about selling yourself. And I think you shared with us before we jumped on here, and it's evident that you've really led the charge for marketing for your business. And I think to accomplish what you've accomplished, obviously you have to do great work. I mean, nothing happens without that. So that's sort of a prerequisite. You got to be passionate about what you do. You got to do great work. In your case, I think unique work in addition to great work. But I think it's something that Casey's really interested to hear about too, is how you promoted your personal brand and your business and how those are connected to be able to grow and accomplish what you have.
Well, that's a loaded question for me. I'm going to answer it in many ways. First of all, the most powerful tool we all have in America and in the world is this right here, you know? So everybody these days has way more advantage than I did back in the day as far as getting ahead. Social media is a great thing. It helps promote you. Does it get you any work? Very little. But it gets you recognized, and you never know who's watching, you know? As far as selling yourself, you got to know your net worth, man. You got to know what you're worth. You got to have confidence. And the confidence builder for me, it should be for everyone else, is having a team behind you that can support you. Because when I go to meet a client and shake their hand and make a promise, I'm not only promising what I'm willing to do, but what all my people are willing to do. So with a very skillful and confident team behind you that is willing to do just about anything to the end of the world, to build something, to make something happen, to design something, is a huge confidence builder for me. When I go to meet someone and shake their hand and promise them something, I know that I have a team behind me that is nearly like the Avengers, I guess you'd say. You know, they're just so many skill levels with so many different hands and different guys and girls too. You know, the girls in the office are just as important as the guys out in the shop. You know, we're all a big team here. So that be a confidence builder for everybody.
One of the Avengers looks like was right there behind you a minute ago. Hey, he just walked out of he was in the background. He had to, no, it's great. It was a perfect timing. He had his overalls on and he looked like I might have been
Bob the Builder who walked by. I don't know.
He was somebody that was getting stuff done. I could tell.
You know, you mentioned like having a great team, and obviously I think that's something that we learned like when we promoted Nix and some of these other companies. We focus on the team, because it's normally the people that make. I know Nick says the people make the difference, right? But I also know, as a guy who just recently hired my first full-time employee over 2 years ago, and we're growing kind of slow, that it's not always easy assembling the Avengers, right? Do you have any advice to maybe some shop owners that are thinking about starting to build that team? Maybe already built that team, but they don't have their Avengers team. They have, maybe they got to make those hard decisions. Has it always been? I mean, did you get lucky and hire really good people right off the bat, or did you kind of start figuring out what you need to do?
No, it's always been a struggle, and it's still a struggle today. And I mean, actually today, to finding good hands. You know, in the last 5 days, I'll give you an example. Just the last 5 days, after being in business for 20 years, the last 5 days, we've literally hired about 7 or 8 guys, and none of them showed up. So it's a struggle, okay? 3 months ago, I went through 84 applications. I picked 10 for an interview. 8 showed up, hired 7. After I hired them, did all the paperwork, only 1 showed up. He lasted a day, 1 day. So that's the biggest struggle. A lot of people think that it's taxes or it's equipment or it's cash flow. It's not. Taxes are expected. Equipment, you need to know what you need in order to be successful in business. It's employees, man. That's the biggest problem in America, especially these days. It's a dying breed, man. You know, we need 330,000 welders by 2028. 330,000. We're not going to get there. I'm black and white and I'm up front. I'm going to tell you right now, we're not going to get there. To social media and marketing, man, you can promote yourself and you get recognized, as you guys were asking about. I did that for 17 years until I hired a marketing guy. It's a great thing to do. It makes you feel good. Gives perspective to your company of who you are and what you're about. But I don't want people to get the wrong idea. You don't get rich off of it, man. You're not going to get rich off of it. You're not going to get as much work as you think you are. You know, everybody thinks, well, I'll post this one video and there's going to be a ton of work coming in. It doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that for most anyway.
It's Casey with Making Sparks sitting here with Adam Schmidt from Profab Alliance. And Adam, I got a quick question for you. If you are a new leader, you just moved into a role and you're looking for mentorship, could Profab Alliance help with that?
Yeah, and honestly, a lot more. I think the best option really to start out is joining one of those peer groups. You're not only going to get mentorship from Profab Alliance team member that leads those groups, but you're also going to get the successes and best practices and lessons learned from other like-minded leaders in the industry. We try to pair those groups, in regions. You're not having to travel across country. Most of the peer group meetings are virtual anyways. And it's really what happens outside the meetings, those friendships that you build, and you meet the people that you eventually trust and lean on.
Yeah, I think a lot of times you got to do a lot of that work for other reasons than to get when I say the work, the
I know what John's saying, but I think we're saying the same things, but I would maybe disagree a little bit. You don't put out a video and think that you're going to get a request for quote the next day. But I think they ultimately end up generating requests for quote. And I think you would agree, John, because it gets your recognition out there. And then here's another thing I have noticed. After you've done it long enough, there are times that putting out a message will provoke somebody. That doesn't always happen. And you can't do it with that thought, but it's generally people that know you and you need to be top of mind. I have seen many times where I'll put out a post and the next day somebody will reach out and say, hey, I was just thinking about such and such, you think you guys could do that, and so it brings you top of mind again. But you're not going to do that with somebody you don't know. You're not going to put out a post and think you're going to get a quote, but you're building that brand recognition over time. You're building trust. Yeah. That's why it's so important to be real. And I think, John, you do a nice job of that. Is you got to promote the business, but you got to promote yourself too. And you got to do it in an authentic way. To build a personal brand, a brand that people can connect with, and there's authenticity there. And
yeah, branding is important. It's very important, and that's just part of it.
Yeah. Do you ever not wear your cowboy hat?
There's a few times where I don't wear it. Yeah.
I was saying that's kind of part of your brand a little bit, right? I think every video you have your cowboy hat on. We're doing this podcast. You got it on.
You wouldn't believe how part of the brand it is, how important the hat is as part of the brand. Now, I've always wore a cowboy hat ever since I was, a teenager. So it ain't like something that I just started doing because I wanted attention or part of my brand. That's part of me in my life.
That's right. It goes back to the authenticity. That's exactly right. Yeah.
But it's a recognizable brand for me because when I walk into somewhere, sometimes fortunately, sometimes unfortunately, I get a lot of attention because I'm 6'8". So I'm 6'8" and I wear a cowboy hat. So I'm always getting stared at all the time. And I'm recognized a lot of times faster or quicker than others because of the hat, So
yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, and I noticed just looking at your LinkedIn and your website that you definitely have a consistent brand theme. Which I think is important too. Like, I don't know if you could just, maybe you can articulate it better. I don't know how, but I noticed it. Like, so I would recognize over time that like the way you post things, it's kind of a edgy, sort of modern, edgy look and energetic. And, whereas like just in contrast that I would say some of what our brand, and there's no right or wrong way at all. Some of ours, I think, tends to lean like more traditional and
not me.
Simple. No, your brand is more like his.
I'm a little bit like I've said this on the podcast before, but my biggest compliment is when people have met me on LinkedIn and then they meet me in person. They say you're just like you are on LinkedIn, and I'm like, good, because in person I'm goofy. I sometimes forget how old I am. Like. I want that to come across on LinkedIn, but also I really like sharing stories. And so on LinkedIn, like I play the game a little bit. I write it in a way that I want people to follow along my posts and have some kind of, I want to bring some kind of value. But for me, I always say it's tongue in cheek kind of. Like at the very end, I'll always say something kind of silly because that's part of my brand. Mostly because people always laughed at me. So I decided I'm going to start laughing at myself too.
So John, before we transition I want to talk about some of the challenges you overcame. Anything else you want to share in terms of, marketing, branding, what's helped catapult you all to the level that you're at?
Anything you think people should be doing?
I will give you a quick message that I feel like is good for the world, especially the entrepreneurs that are coming on board or upcoming entrepreneurs. You need to understand that people is power, and the people withhold the power. You're nothing without your team. Okay, so you have people. You need to have a proven process, and you got to have a good product. So those are the 3 P's that you must concentrate on and must be successful as: people, process, and product. And if you do that, the 4th P is profit. That comes automatically. So if you're confided in confidence within yourself and your product, don't worry, the money will come. As long as you have those P's in line, things will work out and you'll be successful.
Yeah, that's great advice. Thank you. So why don't you share some of the challenges that you overcame to get to this point, and then we'll move into, I want to hear some of the backstories behind these really cool projects that you did.
Well, a lot of the challenges I had over time can vary, from employee issues to employee blowups to the timing of projects coming through. We're at cash flow times where we're having difficult cash flow, renting or mainly purchasing large pieces of equipment to get certain projects done at a certain time. You put your name and your life on the line, per se, a lot of times in order to make these projects happen. Because sometimes when you get a particular project and there is a timeline, you're making good money at, there's another one that's going to be coming in behind it. So you always kind of dress to impress, should I say, and you always got to sometimes just take a hit for the team or take the bullet and trade-offs. There's a lot of things that you have to do that most normal people would not do, whether that's work 36 hours straight or whether that's taking your personal money that you have and put it in the bank to make the company, be able to purchase equipment or be able to suffer on payroll for 2 months until you get paid this $1 million or this $100,000 or whatever it is that you're going to get paid from a project. There is a payoff, but it doesn't come as often as you think there is.
Yeah.
A lot of people think that when you're an owner and an entrepreneur that you make a lot of money and you get a lot of time off and you get to travel. That does happen, but it's rare. And all of us can't be no Greg Cardone, So unfortunately, but I'm proud of where I come from, and did I like all the struggles I went through all my years of business? Been in business May 1st, be 20 years. No, I didn't like all the ways that I had to do business. Am I proud of them? Yeah, I'm proud of them because it was blood, sweat, and tears to get through it all. To get through the struggles, man. There's been tears that's been cried. There's been blood's been shed, and I know it sounds exaggerational or maybe like it's a war, but it really is. It's a war. If you're in a growth pattern, or if you're recognizing growth, it never stops. The money never stops spending, and hopefully you promote yourself and get a good enough team that the money never stops coming in. It's just a revolving door,
Yeah.
But,
I think you mentioned cash flow, and of course we talked about we touched on the people already, and I agree with you. That's the number one challenge for all of us, and I always preach to our team. But if we can be the best at the hardest thing, that's how we're going to separate ourselves. So that's the people part of it. But aside from that, cash flow is often something that gets a lot of owners in trouble, shop leaders and owners. And it's so easily overlooked because you can be making money with every project you do. And the project's profitable on paper, but there's this whole cash flow cycle that is often overlooked. And if you don't have some level of financial sophistication or someone in your corner helping you or a accounting leader in the organization, it can be really dangerous. And we've gone through that several times. And really, like you said, as you continue to grow, that obstacle never goes away. The dollars just get bigger. And I mean, we've went through short-term cash flow struggles as recent as this past year where we had done the largest expansion we've ever done, had a huge tax bill from record year the year before. Next thing you know, 2 or 3 customers are stringing you out for millions of dollars of receivables. And you can go from millions of dollars in cash to all of a sudden, oh my gosh, we're pulling on a line of credit. And, it really is something you have to pay attention to. And so I think that would be one piece of advice for other owners, and I'm sure you would echo, is really understanding that aspect of the numbers. Not just what's on the P&L or the income statement, but how's the project cash flow. And we preach, we got to invoice down payments whenever possible. We got to progress bill whenever possible. Project managers cannot sit on projects for 2 or 3 days that are done and we don't invoice them because the clock's ticking. We got to pay the steel bill. We got to make payroll.
You're exactly right, brother. You're exactly right. It never stops, So,
John, how did you learn a lot of that? Like, I know, like Matthew, you've always said like
our advisory board has helped, and then
also you have a number, like you kind of like looking at numbers every once in a while.
I think I have had a natural inclination to the numbers. Yeah. But yeah, and we all gravitate in different directions.
So that's what I was wondering, John. Like, was there anything that like you were just like, oh, I got to figure this out? Did you go hire someone? Did you go get an advisor, or what did you do that maybe someone that's listening was like, oh, that might be a good way to, I'm struggling with my cash flow. How do I figure this out?
So I've never hired or gone to see an advisor. I've never hired a financial guy that was employed here to help or assist with that. I've done it all myself with the help of one of the girls that's a bookkeeper here, one of the girls that's worked here throughout the period of the time that I've hired them, and they've come and gone, but I got one now that's really good. Miss Kim is her name, but no, I haven't hired. Of course I have a CPA, and but I don't have anybody I've ever hired to come in and just study financials or KIPS or EBIT or percentages and profits and all that kind of stuff. We overlook a lot of that ourselves here in the office.
Yeah. Well, I tell people CPAs are historians. That you got to have those, but history doesn't help you when you're dealing with cash flow. We want to be looking in the future, not behind us.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. We're able to, fortunately enough, we have this individual software here that tracks our jobs and sees our future and sees our backlog and predicts and has like due dates for different projects. We can see the cash flow of what's coming in and what's going out. We're able to do all that. I implemented a lot of different pieces of software so that the team can be able to flow and fluctuate together. Yeah. So we can see how to maintain the company.
Yeah, that's huge. I'm glad you mentioned that, because that is becoming such a big piece of it today. Having the right software in place that especially ones that talk across functions of the business, from accounting to production management, CRMs to manage your sales pipeline. What do you mind sharing? What kind of software you're running?
What is the job software we use, Andrew? What's the name of it? I know what it is, but I don't remember. You remember the name of it? Software?
Monday.
Yeah, it's called Monday. Yeah.
Oh,
we
yeah.
use for tracking jobs. Of course, we have QuickBooks that we use for tracking invoices and payments and stuff like that.
Yep.
So we use Monday as our project management software.
Yeah.
Monday, yeah. Well, that's our two main softwares that we utilize, to help the company. We also use that same software at Trails West Gate Company. I actually have the accountant that works at J.K. Wells. The accountant also takes care of Trails West Gate Company. She's the bookkeeper for them as well. So if anyone ever starts a second company, utilize your people from the first one.
Yeah.
Help keep your costs down.
Absolutely. Yeah, we do the same thing here.
Same thing with Andrew. He's a marketing guy for JK. We also share him for Trails West. At the end of the day, it's just better on the bottom line. It's more cash in my pocket. It makes the company more successful.
Yeah, I think Casey wanted to take a quick break and introduce the dad joke.
I have to introduce
John.
I feel like we haven't
John's a dad. So
yeah.
How old are your kids, John?
So I have a 25-year-old daughter, 24-year-old daughter, 23-year-old son, and a 10-year-old son.
Nice.
Do you ever tell them any jokes?
Oh man, we do it every day. But you got to remember, I'm a welder, so I have jokes out the ass. All right.
Well, mine are normally more appropriate for kids, and my mother-in-law for Christmas bought me funny pun jokes. So there's like farm jokes in here, but I'm not going to read one from there because I got one on Facebook the other day and I really like it. All right.
Well, you tell a joke, then I'll tell a joke.
All right, that's fair. I think that's fair. All right. Can we all agree that the earth is 70% water and it's not carbonated, right? It's not carbonated water, right?
As far as I know,
Yep.
no.
Yeah. So the Earth is flat.
Oh boy. All right, John.
That's too much
Let's
work.
see if
I
you
don't
can
know.
do better than that.
So my son says, Dad, the cowboy rode into town on Tuesday. He stayed 3 days, then left on Tuesday. How did he do it? And I said, I don't know. I have no idea. He says his horse is named Tuesday.
That's good.
All right,
That's
Lance.
good. Yeah.
We might have to do a little short social one that and have people see which one's
Pick-
funnier.
pick 'em. Yeah,
I'm not
that's-
saying
that's
mine's
good.
funnier, but mine was funnier.
That's good.
Yeah,
Yeah, that'd
we-
be a good LinkedIn post. We're going to post both of those and take a vote.
We'll see.
All right. So
You wanna
back
talk about the projects now.
back to the topic at hand. Yeah, no, that was a great share. Thank you, John, for sharing the insights on cash flow management and the challenges you've been through. Let's hear a little bit about those really cool projects. I don't know. I definitely want to hear about the bolt because that really piqued my
Yeah,
interest.
me
But
the nut.
The nut.
yeah, the nut. Sorry, yeah, the nut. Yeah, I saw the picture of it.
Don't worry. You're not the first person to say that. Trust
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, that huge nut. So a couple questions about it. One, what is it made out of? And are those actually internal threads in it? Like, did you machine those threads in that thing internally? And let me back up. For people that haven't seen this, first of all, go on John's LinkedIn page or maybe it's probably on your company's
On their website. I've seen it
as
there,
well. We'll share it in the show notes. But this nut is gigantic. I don't know what's the size of it.
Bigger than John.
Yeah, so
A lot bigger.
yeah, he's 6'8". I mean, so we're was about 15 feet tall or so.
That was 16 foot. The client actually wanted a 15 footer, and I said, "Well, look, I'll make a 16 footer at the same price." That alleviated me from cutting the material because sheets come 8 foot long. you know?
Yeah.
But he was happy, But no, it's 16 feet tall, 19 foot wide. It's 10 foot in depth and it has a 10 foot inside diameter. And to answer your question about the threads, we handmade the threads. So they are helical threads. If you ever look at the inside of a nut, when you see threads, they actually don't line up. One thread doesn't line up with the same thread when it makes a 360-degree turn. It actually continues. It's one thread all the way through the nut. That's how the nut works, So we did that same thing with the largest nut in the world. Was we put helical threads in it. We actually took 2 pieces of plate and we made a V out of it, and we just continued that V all the way throughout the nut.
So it's all made of plate then. So it's not solid, it's hollow.
It's all the way to 3/16, a 1/8 inch plate. It is hollow, but it still weighs 10,000 pounds. So we were called, talking about social media earlier, that's where this job came from. All right. This guy that owns Patriot Bolt and Fasteners in Humble, Texas, actually called me and says, "Hey, we got a special project. We'd like for you to come over. We want to meet with you. We want to meet you. We want to pick your brain. We'd like for you to do a job for us." So when I met these guys, they let me know, and there's several videos of this all over social media, but they let me know, "Hey man, we've elected you to build this nut, the world's largest nut. It's 12. The current record is 12 feet. We like to have one at 15 foot, but we don't want anyone else to do it. We're only calling you. We're relying on you. Can you do this?" I'm like, "Hell yeah." I was a frog's ass watertight, So, man, I was extremely excited, immediately, because this is the kind of stuff that why my feet hit the floor every morning. This is the kind of stuff I love to do, The more complex it is, the harder it is, the more difficult it is, the more I like doing it. And especially if the bigger, the better. Because other companies look at this as a liability. Other companies look at this going, "I don't have the skill level." Other companies look at this going, "I don't have the shop or the ability or the craftsmanship or the equipment," whatever the reason is. A lot of times I get calls on special projects like this. It's like, "Hey, you're my 6th or my 8th or you're my 10th weld shop to call. Can you help me out?" And I'm like, "Of course, you called the right number this time. I'm going to help you." And they're like, "Well, are you sure?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm positive, man." They're like, "Well, what all do y'all do?" I said, "We do everything. We mow your grass if you want us to, you got to put that edgy, funny feeling in there when you're meeting someone, but also have confidence. The guy I built the ringing singing tree for, the world's largest wind chime, he called and let me know that I was his 8th weld shop to call, that he couldn't find anyone to help him. And I said, "Well, I'll help you." And he says, "Well, go to this website." I looked at it and I said, "Yeah, I can build that." He says, "Are you sure?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Are you absolutely sure?" I said, "Sir, you keep asking the same question, rewording it, The answer is yes. He says, well, I'll be at your shop at 2:00 tomorrow with a check and some blueprints. I said, well, you better hurry because I'll leave at 3. He says, I'm going to fly 2 people in from the UK overnight to come meet you with me. I said, all right. And at the end of the job, 6 months later, he put his arm around me, handed me a check, and he says, thank you. I appreciate everything you've done. And he says, I couldn't have done it without you. But let me ask you something. Do you have any idea why I picked you? I said, yeah, because I was your 8th weld shop you called. He goes, that's a good answer, but that's not the answer I was looking for. I said, well, you tell me why. He says, I elected to have you do this because I did finally find you to do it, but also because of your confidence the first time I spoke to you on the phone. So anybody listening to this podcast, don't just think that you got to have confidence when you're meeting someone. You need to have confidence when you're talking on the phone, and be proud of your facility and proud of your people that back you, that have talent in order to capture projects like this.
Yeah, that's great advice.
Because they're timeless, man. They're life-changing events, you know.
Yeah, that confidence is so important. People can smell weakness. They know if you're unsure, you're shaky. That really shows through. Yeah.
And you know what? At the end of the day, it ain't about me. It ain't about you. It ain't even about us. It's about leaving a legacy behind. Everybody wants to leave a legacy. Everybody wants to set their footprint in this world. That's what I want to do, just like everybody else. I want to leave a legacy behind and set my footprint and make a mark in this world. My sons and my daughters look back and go, man, that was my dad. He did this, he did that. I'm more interested in that than making money.
Yeah.
You know?
Amen. That's great. Well, you've got the world's largest nut to
back it up.
Well, I tell everybody, look, man, that's just my left nut.
I was getting ready. That's where I was getting ready to say, where's the other one come? You got to be able to say nuts plural. I got the world's largest nuts.
You guys can sit there on that couch for an hour. If I hand you my phone and let you look at all the comments, it is nuts. I mean nuts.
That's awesome.
That's good.
Well, I think we're
this is
getting close on our time here. Yeah. I
don't even know when. I can sit here for hours and talk.
Oh yeah. Well, my problem is that when we go back to edit it, we'll start having problems when it gets too long, because then we'll have to.
I know. I've been there too.
There was one other thing I wanted to ask about. This might be a good one to round us out here. So I saw on your LinkedIn a TikTok that you had on there where you were on another podcast and you walked out on the podcast. This guy's clowning, asking. So tell, what was this? Just a publicity stunt? Tell me this. Yeah.
Hey, you know what? It was freaking fun doing it too, because it got a lot of people's attention and a lot of people commenting. It was fun. It was just being funny. You know, I'm a funny guy. You know.
That's what I meant by your brand. You're on brand. It's consistent. You know, it carries throughout. Yeah. If you're listening to this, we'll put John's LinkedIn in the show notes. Go check this out. He's on a podcast, a made up podcast, and the guy's asking him some ridiculous questions, and he gets up and walks out.
You know what, Andrew? I think we ought to do another one of those. I think we need to do another one.
Yeah,
because it was funny, man. We were cracking up, dude. It was done here in the office, actually in the lunchroom. So I think they were asking questions like, if I know any welders that wear thongs, and if it,
don't give it all away. They got to go watch it.
Yeah, we enjoyed that. We'll have to do that again.
Well, John, if you ever get out to the Midwest, love to have you visit. You're welcome anytime. Doors open.
Where exactly are you guys?
Yeah, so we're headquartered just outside of Evansville, Indiana, which is tri-state area of Indiana, Illinois, and Kentucky, right there, kind of in that corner. And then we have shops throughout southern Indiana, and then one in Cincinnati, Ohio, as well. So I always joke and say our ancestors came down the Ohio River and we're just working our way back up it. So we've been acquiring shops, sort of working up the river. It's coincidentally, of course, but yeah, that's our footprint right now. Any parting thoughts for us here as we wrap up?
No, other than the fact that tell everybody I'm John King. I'm with JK Welding, Trails West Gate Company. Also, aluminum fabricators, SavingsFabricators.com. Follow me or follow my companies on any social media platform, even TikTok. You still have it. And Instagram and Facebook, LinkedIn. You guys give me a follow, comment, share all of our stuff. We appreciate everyone. And it was great being here on you guys' podcast. I can't thank you enough. And It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, thank you. It was fun. As we wrap up here, before we do our sign off, just want to remember the listeners to like, share, rate the podcast, help spread the word. If you know anybody else like John that's got a great story, or you yourself, we'd love to hear from you. I'd love to have you on the show. Let's keep sharing the good word and helping elevate our industry. Like John said, we have 300 and something thousand welders we need in our industry as well. So anything we can all do to promote this industry and help each other is a good thing. So John, you can help us sign us off here, buddy. If you're not making sparks,
You're not making money.